Let's talk about a huge paradox. On paper, Mauritania has some of the toughest anti-slavery laws anywhere in the world. We're talking up to 20 years in prison. And yet, hereditary slavery and human trafficking are still happening, and with shocking regularity. So we're going to dive into this. Why is there such a massive gap between the law and the reality on the ground?
Right. This is the big question we're tackling in this explainer. And it's a puzzle that goes way beyond just one country, but in Mauritania, the contrast is just so incredibly stark. The laws are there, but justice, it almost never shows up. So we're going to unpack exactly why that is, and maybe more importantly, explore a really detailed blueprint that's designed to finally close this gap for good.
This slide just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you have the powerful promise of the law, but on the other, you have the day-to-day reality of impunity, a world where corruption is just part of the system, and cases often get swept under the rug with these illegal backroom deals that let perpetrators just walk free. And that, right there, is the law-to-practice gap in a nutshell. And if you need just one number to really grasp the scale of this failure, here it is: fewer than 10. Let that sink in. In a country where tens of thousands of people are estimated to be living in hereditary slavery, that's how many perpetrators have actually seen the inside of a jail cell since 2007. It's just a staggering symbol of a system that is failing to protect its most vulnerable citizens. So what this tells us is that this isn't just about a few isolated cases falling through the cracks. No way. It points to something much, much deeper, a systemic failure. And if you really want to fix it, you first have to understand the architecture of this whole system of impunity. At the heart of the problem, according to the analysis, is this concept of extractive institutions. Now, what does that mean? Well, think of it as a system of governance where all the power and wealth are basically hoarded by a small elite. And at the same time, the vast majority of people, especially communities like the Haratin, are systematically shut out. This structure doesn't just allow exploitation, you could say it's practically designed for it. And then, on top of this already broken system, you've got all these other pressures just pouring gasoline on the fire. You've got environmental stress, like desertification, pushing vulnerable people into even tougher situations. You have this deep, deep social exclusion that denies entire groups of people basic rights. And then you have official corruption, which just acts like a poison, making sure the laws are never actually applied to the powerful. And all of this locks together to create this vicious, self-reinforcing cycle. Social exclusion makes people vulnerable. That vulnerability, of course, leads to exploitation and trafficking. And then, when victims try to get justice, they smash into a wall of impunity, which just reinforces the whole broken system all over again. To solve the problem, you have to find a way to break that cycle. So how do you do that? How do you break a cycle that's so entrenched? Well, the ARAC International Strategy argues that you don't just nibble at the edges. You have to find the central leverage point. And in this case, that means going right to the core and rebuilding the one institution that's supposed to coordinate the entire national fight against trafficking. So let's look at that institution. It's called INCHTMS. Right now, its authority is basically voluntary. It can ask for cooperation, but it can't command it. It has no dedicated budget of its own, just whatever it can scrape together. And its membership? It's all government. The strategy proposes a total overhaul. Give it binding authority, a real budget, and make its membership inclusive. It's the difference between a debate club and a command center. But here's what's maybe the most important part of this new structure. It's who it includes. For the very first time, it brings frontline NGOs, diaspora networks, and even survivors themselves right to the decision-making table. They're sitting there alongside government ministries and international observers. This isn't just a small tweak, it's a fundamental, game-changing shift toward a system that's transparent, accountable, and actually centered on the victims. Okay, so you've got this reformed institution at the center. What's the actual plan? Well, this isn't some vague set of goals. It's a detailed 4-phase blueprint for action, designed to be rolled out over 24 months. And here's the roadmap. You can see the 4 phases right here: foundational, capacity and enforcement, victim protection, and monitoring. And notice how they overlap. This isn't a simple step 1, step 2 process. It's a dynamic approach where different streams of work are happening at the same time and building on each other over that 2-year timeline. All right, let's break down Phase 1. These are the critical first steps in the first 3 months. You get the new bylaws adopted by presidential decree, BAM! That gives the reformed INCHTMS its legal teeth. You staff it with real experts, so it has the brainpower. And you do this national risk mapping, which is like giving them a map of the battlefield so they know exactly where to target their efforts. Next up is Phase 2, and this is where the system really starts to bite back. This is all about building real enforcement muscle. Standardized training makes sure everyone, from the local police to the highest judges, is on the same page. Banning those informal settlements closes a huge loophole for traffickers. And, this is crucial, it targets official complicity, going after anyone inside the system who gets in the way of justice. Phase 3 marks a really important shift in focus. We're moving from just punishing perpetrators to proactively protecting survivors. This means finally getting the national referral mechanism up and running, expanding shelters to serve everyone, including adult men, who are so often overlooked, and getting rid of old, punitive laws that can end up wrongly criminalizing the very people who've been exploited. And finally, Phase 4 is all about making this last. It sets up a public tip watch dashboard for radical transparency, so anyone can see how cases are progressing. Partnering with the diaspora for independent audits provides a crucial check on the system. It's all about creating a system that can learn, adapt, and hopefully prevent this from happening in the first place. Look, a great plan on paper is one thing, but how do you actually know if it's working? This brings us to the final, absolutely crucial element, making sure success isn't just a hope, but something you can actually measure and demand. And this is where the plan proves it's for real. Success isn't some vague, fuzzy idea. It's defined by hard numbers. The plan sets out very clear key performance indicators, or KPIs. The goal isn't just improvement. It's to increase trafficking convictions from fewer than 10 a year to more than 30. It's to go from a victim referral system that doesn't work at all to one that identifies and helps over 500 people. Just look at this chart. It visualizes one of the most critical targets. This is what it's all about, moving from the current reality of near-total impunity to a system that delivers concrete justice in a real, significant number of cases. This is what accountability actually looks like. And so that brings us right back to our central question. The Blue Point is on the table. It addresses the systemic failures from the top-down design of institutions all the way to on-the-ground enforcement and victim support. It's comprehensive, it's detailed, and it's measurable. The only question now is whether the political will exists to turn this plan into a new reality. The path forward has never been clearer,